Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party. My buddy Rhett. We are I think it's Thursday, right? Is it Thursday or Wednesday? I know it's the 11th, and I know today is a full moon, so you got to keep that in. No, it's Wednesday. So it is Wednesday, June 11th. It is beautiful here. We have no no rain or anything, blue skies. Here's a nut for Rhett. We get her started. And let's see, I think it's probably 72 degrees, feels like 80. Nope, 68 degrees. Let's see. Where's the feels like? Oh, feels like 78. So I was pretty, 3 degrees off on that and 2 degrees off on that. No, 5 degrees off on this and 2 degrees off on that. Um, no rain today, so it'll be a good day to go take a run. And we got massive humidity, 97%. That will have a very negative effect on my wife's business. Um, the main allergy is grass. Looks like my neighbors might be out having a good time today. Just kidding. Um, with the grass. Oh, today, full moon is June 11th, which is today, but it says it's 99% of the phone, which is that's what I thought it said yesterday. Anyways, so yesterday somebody had put a comment to one of my videos saying that they wanted to get involved and help code, and that sort of is the very first time anyone's ever done that. So it just sort of put me into sort of a panic because I was like, oh, this is something new. But it's definitely something I want to do. I might have overwhelmed him. I definitely appreciate that. I might have overwhelmed him because I was like, okay, so what do you want to do? End-to-end testing, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then I was just like thinking to myself, I don't have the main brand. I'm working on a branch still, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I do think that like if somebody does want to participate in this, um, and I guess that would be one of the next natural stages of an application like this, they would have to sort of really get in their head that like so the way you normally code works is you write some code, you finish something, and then you feel good about it. And we would have to kind of change that whole mindset because the mindset in this is not like that. It's more of like, hey, we want to build some stuff, we want to achieve some stuff, but most importantly, at the very top of the thing is we want to learn things. And so like a lot of times when you're working in a production environment, people kind of get things working, and then you sort of get it good enough, and then you accept it. And if a manager or a senior gets to like, no, I want it a very, 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 very particular way, it can be extraordinarily alarming and difficult for other people to work with them, other seniors, other architects, whatever, you know. But the thing is like that is kind of the whole point of this project. This project isn't like we're trying to build something for some end user. We're trying to learn. That's the whole point of this project. Um, I do think sometimes managers and all that, or seniors or other people will be like, no, I'm here to teach you when we actually have customers that need stuff. And it's like, we don't have customers that need stuff on this. So if you did want to work on this, if anyone does want to work on this, it's like the most important thing would be to keep in mind that A, there's no deadlines or anything. And it's more about like the the destination. I mean, the destination is incredibly important, but more importantly is the trip. You know, the what you go through to learn. You know, so you know like and anything that got committed or whatever would have to be unit tested, 100% coverage, and would have to be end-to-end tested. Either new end-to-ends and the existing end-to-end tests would still need to work. So you know that could be just real frustrating for someone. Um, you know, depending on what they're trying to do. But anyways, what we're trying to do right now is fix a bug, and it's a bug that I knew I didn't know this exact bug would happen, but I knew something along these lines would happen. But basically, when we add a visualization and then we change it from one view to another view, the visualization redraws. And what we found out was basically when you leave from one to another, it ends up creating a new visualization. And the reason it ends up creating a new visualization is because that's all it does, is create a new visualization. See, create viz component. So we changed this to upsert viz component, which upsert, my understanding of the word upsert is like a database word. And it means that, like, here's some data. If this data already exists, then update it. That's the up. And if it doesn't exist yet, then create it. So basically, we added this new function in here, upsert viz component. And so we're going to end up needing to unit test this. We know that. So I gave it a Boolean so I'd have something to test off with, and all it does right now is create a viz component. But what it really needs to do is check to see if it already has a viz component or not. So basically what's happening is it's going to go over all the existing viz components, and right now all it does is create one no matter what. But what we need to make sure is that the viz component doesn't already have one. And I can't remember. And Rhett, you're being a pain in the butt. Rhett, why are you doing that? All right, I forgive you. So viz components is passed in. And I can't remember. I think these are, since the word is, oh, create viz for components. But yeah, so the thing is we don't know if there already is a viz for this component. And to determine that, we'll need to build, I guess the best way to do that will be to check to see if we have a visualization that doesn't have a component, but they already do have components. That's what we learned. And so what we want to, so the next thing we needed to do was, when we destroy that, we want to remove it, the reference of itself from the visualization list, right? So basically what happens, so basically right here, console.log viz components and visualization service. So yesterday I watched some videos about AI. I'm deeply interested and concerned about AI, trying to kind of understand where we're headed with that kind of stuff. Um, at this point, I've kind of settled on the idea that, like, if you don't care, like if you can do your job without caring, like you don't have to care at all. You can get through your whole day, and like, let's say someone comes in to the office and they hand you a piece of paper, and you take that piece of paper and you cut it in half, and you put one half in one stack and the other half in the other stack, and you can just you don't have to care at all. Yeah, you're probably going to get replaced by AI, because that's the AI is smarter than us. There's just no question about that. It has more intelligence than we do, but it doesn't have the actual ability to care. So like if you are in a situation where you're like, you can't just cut it in half, you have to do an analysis and look at the people and figure out, oh, okay, no, this needs to be cut in thirds and this one goes here and that. Like if you have to really actually dig down and understand things, and like the answer isn't always the same, then AI probably can't replace you. But if you can just blindly go through your day just doing something mindlessly, yeah, you're probably going to get replaced by AI. And I think the trick is that like like we have feral cats that run around here, and they seem to have this incredible knowledge of things that we don't. Like so, like sometimes I'll be sitting there watching the feral cats, and they'll just all leave, just get up and just sort of wander off, and then like a minute later 30 seconds later, the uh, um, dog catcher will come by, animal control will come by, and then the animal control drives by, and then all the ferals come back. And it's like they're just so highly aware of things that are going on. That's something that it would probably be extremely difficult for an AI to to emulate. But the thing is like, could AI and they aren't using. I don't think they're using intelligence to figure that out. I think they're using sort of instincts and deep understanding to figure that out. Well, they could. A lot of things could um, figure that out. Like I mean, you there's a lot of things that you can figure out with like brute force intelligence just by like iterating and going through. And then there's some things, a lot of things that you can figure out through just sort of feeling and understanding. Like in the movie, I think it's called The Day After Tomorrow, where like this, it was a weather movie where the United States all froze and stuff like that. The world froze and stuff like that. And the kid was like, I answered all the questions. I got all the questions right on the test, but he still failed me because I didn't show my work. And they were like, oh, because I'm smarter than you or whatever. But anyways, the idea is that like you can feel your way towards understanding what the correct answer is to a lot of things, and then you can brute force your way, like actually working through the actual steps. And sometimes filling is faster, sometimes brute force is. But I don't think we have a good grip on when something is pure feeling versus when something is pure brute force questions. And a lot of times we think things that are feeling, but you could get through them through brute force. Those are kind of the things that where our whole world's just getting turned upside down, where we don't, things that we used to think were feeling things, but they aren't. They can actually be accomplished through brute force intelligence as well. But there are still things that people can only figure out by feeling. Um, you know, like I remember when I was a kid, I think I was in seventh or eighth grade, we had like this art fair, and there was we would have to do this art contest, and the I remember like in seventh, I'm not a very good at drawing and stuff, but in seventh grade, I remember every school bus would go to the same spot, and there was always a dog, and he was on a chain, and he was always sitting outside his doghouse and all that. And every bus would go to it in turn, and every kid saw this dog sitting there. And so I drew a really crappy drawing of the dog, but like it spoke to people because everyone saw that, right? So that was like something that I kind of felt would reach out to people and all that. And so I got like third place or something. And then the next year, I drew the dog again, but I got crushed because like 40 people drew dogs, and their drawings were way better than my drawings, and their drawings conveyed more feelings and all that. But I was the first one to feel that, oh my gosh, this is something that will speak to people and do that. That piece of that feeling versus like processing, that's the piece that the AI is missing, and that's the part that's hard for us to sort of figure out. Um, all right, so now whenever we destroy whenever one of these gets destroyed, which we never even had the concept of destroying one of these things, um, we're going to get to see what's in our. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. Um, so we click off of there, and then now in our console, see, this is our visualization service, right? And in our visualization, we have visualizations. And this is right now, this is current. That's sometimes this is a good thing, sometimes this is a bad thing, but this does not capture the at the time state of this service. It gives you the state service right now. If you want at the time, you have to stringify it or something like that. You have to do something to make it so it's immutable. But right now it isn't. But you see, we still have a viz component, even though it doesn't exist. So, and I don't know. Okay, so a viz component does know its ID. And that, I believe, is So viz component, I think it knows its ID. It should know its ID. Yeah, but it's a function right now, so we would have to run it. But we know that this is that. So we could go through the visual, we could delete this component from there, and that would be a step in the right direction to so that we can figure out if the visualization that is about to be created. So right now I'm like sort of inventing these words, right? So basically, we get a command to create a visualization, or take an existing visualization and okay, so it's backwards, right? Right now we it figures out that we have a visualization component, but what it doesn't know is the current visualization component supposed to be attached to an existing ST visualization, or is it supposed to be, or do we need to create an ST visualization? And the only way we can determine that is there an ST visualization that still needs a component? I don't know if that makes sense, but I think those words were better than the words I had before. But at this point, in order to be able to do that, we do need to go into the ST visualizations and um, get the and delete that. Now, I don't know if all we have is an array. A lot of times I have a map as well. Doesn't look like I do. So a lot of times I'll have a map that has access to the same object, and that would have been nice because then I don't have to like iterate over the array. But so I think what I need to do is say add a function inside of inside of this service that will remove the component from that. So, and I don't. I think the best way to do that would be to assign it to null or possibly undefined, or possibly delete it completely. I'm not sure. Probably if I can, I think I might be able to delete it, and if I can, that's what I'll do. But where are we on time? I know I've done some rambling. All right, so now we want to go to visualization service, go to definition, go here, go to this definition. I did have like sort of a very disturbing experience yesterday in that ChatGPT was down in the morning. And I don't know if down is the right word, but it was not responsive. And I tried it across like two fully different things. And um, I am a pretty good C#.NET backend API developer when I have access to ChatGPT. I am awful. I can't figure out what to do. I'm completely lost without ChatGPT. That's a bad feeling. That's a really, really bad feeling. I had never experienced that feeling before. And because every time I've ever learned everything, it's been like piece by piece, block by block. And that was the most vulnerable, hopeless feeling that I have felt in years and years and years. It was a bad, bad, bad experience. Um, okay, so I'm going to add this to the end. And it's going to be called delete component from ID, for ID. And it's going to take an ID and it's going to return a Boolean. And that is a new thing. I keep repeating myself, but the lights hitting it. I'm returning Booleans because it makes unit tests read better when you have something to test. And sometimes I'm just returning true. But it does seem like I should return a true if it found one to delete, and it should return a false if it didn't find an ID to delete. So let found, and I'm going to default it to false. And then return found. And basically, oh, an ID is a number. I believe it's a number. Pretty sure it's a number. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to iterate over that. And then it's this dot. What it's called. What is our array called? Visualizations. I guess we're in the ST. Well, I don't know. Kind of think it should be called ST visualizations, but for each. I'm assuming that when I set that up, I put a lot more thought into it than I can put into it now. So I'm assuming that I didn't name it ST visualizations for a good reason, but I don't remember why. And so basically we want to say the visualization dot ID. ST visualization ID is equal to the ID that was passed in. And then we want to set found equal to true. And then we want to, I wish we could just break. There used to be, like with regular for loops, you could just break at that point and be done. But for each didn't offer that, and I don't really understand why. But anyways, I think what we can do is then say visualization dot viz component. We can just, I think we can just say put delete in front of it. Which I don't know about you, but like that is so weird to me. It's always been weird to me that you know, most things in JavaScript you like call a function to do something, whatever. You don't just have like the command and then the name. But anyways, so we return true. So we're going to delete the component for ID. Let's just make sure everything builds, because I don't think we're calling it yet. So now over here in our on destroy, I believe we can say in service dot delete component for ID, and then we can say this dot st. Oh no, that's the renderer ID, not the actual. That's okay. So that's unfortunate because that's not the right ID. This is the renderer's ID, not the. All right. So the challenge here is, okay, we do not know what this thing's ID is. Its parent's ID in the. So let's see, inspect, and then the console. And then I do not know what just I get. Oh, because it reloaded and it reloaded in the other view. Add viz. So then click on that, and so we don't know. Well, okay, so the renderer ID would actually be unique too, I guess. It is kind of weird though, because I don't think that's right. I don't think that is the renderer ID. I think that is actually the. Oh, render ID. Well, even okay. So even if we have okay, so the render ID is 1. And let's see. And actually, I guess there is a one-to-one, so we can actually, instead of looking for the ID, we can use the renderer ID. So let's go with renderer input ID. So we actually do have the renderer ID. So I guess, and there should only be one. I don't know why I can't figure out how to see this. Oh, here we go. Symbol value is 1 and the renderer ID. So, okay. So I don't know if you're with me on this, but so st renderer input ID, and we have to run it so that that will become a string, a number. I believe it becomes a number. I hope it becomes, yeah, it becomes a number. And then what we have to do is we have to, in our visualization service, we need to change it. Instead of looking for the st visualization ID, we want it to be the renderer ID. Now, I think it's one-to-one always. There'll only be, I hope it's always, there's only going to be one renderer ID for, and even if there was more than one, when we leave over, they're all destroyed. So this would work. There may be a bug in the future if we start looking at things a different way, and it's that. But I actually, we'll even know if it didn't find it. So I think we're good. So anyways, if the renderer ID matches, then it's going to delete the component. And so the goal, what we expect to see now, is that when we go to create again, it's not going to fix the issue, but at least the other one won't have a component. That's what we're hoping for at this point in time. So close this and open and inspect. And I guess there's nothing really to see at this point. It's when we go back. And I guess we need to put a debug statement there. So back and back. And so now we should have 2 renderers. And I guess really we wanted to be here. See, can we see these viz components? No, viz components are, let's see, we're going to go here. Let's run it. And then back. Okay, so now I think we should have like, oh, okay, we only have one viz component. This visualization service. So you see we have 3 visualizations right here. Now what we're hoping is that inside of here, yeah, see we no longer have a component. So in English, what we can do is now check to see if the visualization that we're creating, if there is a visualization component that doesn't have a visualization, an ST visualization that does not have a visualization component. And if it doesn't, then we should add this visualization to that component. But if it does, then we should create a new one and add it to that new one. So that is a bit convoluted. A bit, not crazy convoluted, but it's a bit convoluted. But I think we can compose this code in a way in which it's very clear what's happening. So And I don't know if we have access to this visualization service at this point. So that's the next thing. It looks like we do. Yeah, we have. Yeah, we do have access to this visualization service at this point in time. So the next step to me is to console log the visualization service. The challenge here is definitely that like we could end up writing this code so that it's extremely difficult for anyone to understand. So let's try to not do that. Visualization service. What the heck? Oh, this is the visualizations. So these are the visualizations. We're just going to console log those out so we can kind of get a better feel for what's going on. So yesterday, at the start of yesterday's video, very, very clueless as to why this is broken. And we sort of worked our way down, and that is how that works. Add visualization. Now I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like, okay, we've got a definite plan of attack. And I think this is the first moment that that has been the case. Okay, so we have our visualizations. So basically all we want to do is get the first empty visualization, right? Get the first visualization where it does not have a visualization component. Okay, so let's see, Control Z, Control. That's how I kind of figure out where I'm at in the code. Okay, so const get, this is an empty visualization. This dot get first empty visualization. So that sound was my Roomba. I don't know what it's. So I'm just going to put this right here. Get first empty visualization. And that is a Boolean. And it returns, let's see, let found is equal to false. No, it can't return that. It needs to return an st visualization or false. I don't know about that. I'm a little bit return. I'm actually going to make this or undefined. Let st visualize, which is of type st visualization. And every time I do this with this undefined, I always end up regretting it, but this is always the starting point. Right. So basically, Now I don't know why this is complaining. A functions whose declares neither undefined or oh, I need to return. Oh Lord, it's a full moon. Okay, so there we go. Now, basically, we want to take this stop visualizations, and we want to, for each of them, and we want to we're going to want to say if visualization is equal to st visualization. I would say like the number one thing I'll generally get criticized for, or criticized probably isn't the word, but I'll get like kind of pushback on and have to change for PRs is being too wordy. You know, they'll say, can we make this a little bit more curt? Can we make this a little less wordy? But, and it was funny because I remember this one place I worked, the guy was like, man, I love your code. The guy who's in charge of me, um, he, uh, he loved my code. He was just like, I love your code, blah, 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 blah. And then I would, and he says, and it's just so wild because I can just read it and I understand exactly what's going on. And most other developers, I look at their code, I can't read it, I can't understand what's going on. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then all suddenly he was like every time he'd do a PR, he would change all the code and he would get rid of all this wordiness. And then next, you know, he was telling me, yeah, I like how you used to do your code. And it was like, I haven't changed how I do my code. You keep changing my code. Um, but he was like, he did go karts. Like he was really into go karts, and he spent thousands and thousands of dollars into these go kart races and stuff like that. And he was the driver, and he was just like, every time, like I'll get a crew, and then they all quit on me, and everybody just quits on me all the time. And it was just like, yeah, because he had a bunch of weird things like that, um, where like he would literally go into people's code, change the code, and then be mad at them because he couldn't read the code. It was like, you changed the code. You're the one who did it. But anyways, dot component. So we're saying, hey, if it doesn't have one of these, then st visualization, st visualization is equal to, and I wonder why it isn't doing the tabbing for me. It's equal to visualization. Now, so this is wrong in that this is supposed to return the first empty, and this would return the last empty. So let's add another thing, and st visualization is equal to undefined. So we're only going to do this if it's we haven't found one yet, and we find one. So this will return the very first one. I don't think it matters which one it is because these are all just blank visualizations. I think all sort of resizing of the actual placing of and resizing of all of these things would fix this issue. Now, if we do get a visualization, well, let's just make sure all that works. And I think I'm already calling it right. Yeah, empty visualization. So console log and then empty visualization. So what we're expecting now is to actually, the very first time we won't see, it'll be nothing. Assuming the code works, that there isn't, it's not broken. Okay, now. So empty viz is undefined, and now when we kill this, we go here, then we go back, and the empty viz is something. Now, instead of creating, we're at 8:45, so we're still good in the neighborhood. Instead of actually creating one, if there's a visualization, and we definitely need to sort of revisit just that this reads in some way that makes some sort of sense. Because, you know, the words I'm saying, every time I say them, they're confusing. I mean, and a lot of the reason the words are confusing is because we have the same name for ST visualization, visualization component, and visualizations. And, but it, unfortunately, I think it's necessary because, what happens is, I mean, because when you scale out and you're looking at everything, this is its own little section of the code. So it makes sense for them all to have the same names, but it does get confusing when you're down at this level and you're working, because it's like you're working with like 3 different things that have almost the identical name. So this dot, no. So basically our empty visualization, which is a reference to an object that's sitting in the arrays and all that. So that's something to keep in mind. Dot viz component is equal to viz component. So this is references upon references upon references. But I have a reference to this component. I also have a reference to the visualization in the array of visualizations. And now I'm assigning it this way. And I know that's confusing. And it's just sort of one of the things of JavaScript. And I can't think of a good way to do this, and so that you don't have to have just that understanding of the way references work in JavaScript. But that is probably one of the most difficult things in all of JavaScript, is the way referencing works. So I don't know. I think I'm guessing create visualization does stuff, and it does look like we want to set it as initialized. So this will create it and then set it as initialized. I think now we want to add it and then set it as initialized, because this has been initialized. And it's like you kind of have this internal argument on whether this should be its own function, but it's literally a one-liner, so it already is its own function. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if anything that's already been visual, won't be set or not. Because the thing is it's part of this create visualization. See, as part of the create visualization, I believe it updates the width and the height of the. No, maybe not. So at some point, these get set, and they need to go. The actual visualizations left and high. Anyways, let's focus on what we have to focus focus on for the moment. Then if it doesn't work, oh, wait, wrong one. Okay, so that doesn't really mean anything because the first one, so, well, A, that's a good thing because the first one, so we've definitely made a step in the right direction. Now, have we actually think this? Yeah, so we have two of them sitting on top of each other now because something sets the left and the right viz type. So it's this thing right here. So here we set the calculated. So this is when we're trying to calculate the new position when you add one. Like, where do we place it? Because we don't want to place it on top of the others, but we need to add some functionality that will go in and update this. Once it's been set, we want the top this to be set based on what's already there. So I don't know exactly how to do that, but whatever it is needs to happen here, but it probably will need to be put into a function later. So I'm going to add a console log here. Console.log empty reused used visualization. And I don't quite understand what viz is down here on our left and right when we do the calculate. Where are you? See, I think it's this guy right here. And see the ST. Okay, so this is an ST visualization, not a visualization component. And that's the ST top, but at some point we actually set the left and the top. Set count. And really what we're looking at is dot left, I think. Nope. So I don't know how. Oh, Lordy. I don't know. Okay, so now I've got myself all messed up. Oh, inspect. Console. Let's see if I can get myself back on track here. Boom. And then boom. And then close that. Go here. Reused. So we reused this one. But what we want is, I don't know what we want to. And so, yeah, so now I'm back on track. All right, so boom, boom. We're going to inspect this, kind of work backwards through this thing. Use this little guy so we can inspect the specific one. Why are you being such a pain? There we go. And so we know that this guy, app viz, style left and style top get set. So something is setting the app viz style left and style top, and it's a direct style. So let's see. was kind of hoping it was in there. Okay, let's look at the word style in the application. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's not in there. It's not in there. It's not in there. Don't think that's it. Don't think it's that. It's not a style URL. So we definitely don't want the style URL. Style left, I think. Animation service. Okay, so the animation service is the thing that's supposed to set the style properly. So apparently, I don't know why, if is, so in here in the animation service is our problem. So every single time it's supposed to upset, it's supposed to set the, it's supposed to come in here and set the position, but apparently it's never getting called. So let's see this. And that makes sense to me now that I think about it. Position. And I didn't even think about this. This is a complete, like, out of left field thing, but it does make sense because I want to always update it whenever that value changes. So it sets a position there. Oh, I think we might need to change that hash. Set that position there. And then when we click here and we go there, and then setting position, setting up vis. So we never do set position again. And so we need to call set position. And I think the way set position works is it finds, it checks to see if the hash has changed so that it doesn't constantly reset the position over and over and over again. And so, yeah, we're going to have to figure that out. It is 8:57. Got to go. Bye.